everyone. Happy college football. Welcome to Porcelain Picks. I'm your host, Andrew Fabian. It's week 10. It's bright and early on Saturday morning, November 1st. The crickets are no longer chirping. We've got a huge slate ahead of us, and we need a big victory week this week. We're coming off an 8-6 week 9. It brings us to 81-82 on the season. I think we're poised for a big week this week. Joey Mack is going to get out of his slump. Stay tuned for that. We've got a new wrinkle this week. Dixon has a few picks we're going to sprinkle in. I'm going to tell you where he and I are in lockstep, where we disagree, and you be the judge there. Because we at Porcelain Picks are focused on delivering you the locks you need as you scroll atop the porcelain throne. Make sure you subscribe, like it, comment. What did we get right and where are we dead wrong? We're certainly dead wrong a lot, but we like to get them right a little bit more often. All right, we're going to jump into the noon action. This is one that Dixon and I are on the same page about. Vanderbilt goes to Texas. Texas hasn't been home in a while. They're 4 straight games away from home, including the game against Oklahoma that they won. But they were coming off 2 really close calls against poor teams. Mississippi State last week took a big Texas comeback in the fourth quarter to escape an overtime. Before that, it was Kentucky in overtime. Texas, not a lot different than Penn State this year. They started out 1-2 in the country. Penn State's 3-4. They've lost their close games. They lost to Northwestern by 1 point. They lost at Iowa by 1 point. Texas wins both of their close games against bad teams in overtime. They could easily be 3-4 and sitting there with Sarkisian's job being on the line. But nevertheless, they're favored against a Vanderbilt team that honestly has just performed. Diego Pavia, this guy is a gamer. They continue to win. I do not think Vegas has altered their lines and caught up to what Vanderbilt's putting forth on the field. These guys just win these tight battles. Dixon and I think this is no different. Texas, they get it done on paper, but they're not going to get it done this week. Vanderbilt, plus 3.5 is the play. You can lock it up and flush it up. We're both on that. I think Vanderbilt's going to win this game outright, but I'm going to take the points. I also like the under. I see this as a 21-20 type game, either direction. I think Vanderbilt wins, but take the under 47.5. Just lock it up and flush it up and move on with your Saturday. All right. Penn State, Ohio State in the shoe. This game was tagged by many, including myself, as one of the games of the century to start the year. At the start of the year, Ohio State was a 3.5 point favorite with the early lines. Right now, it's brutal. It's 18.5. It was up as high as 20.5, but right now it's 18.5. Ohio State is favored at home. Penn State, man, they're in disarray. Ethan Grunkmeyer, what a tough battle for the starting moments of his career. He goes into Iowa at night and has to play in that game. He's efficient. He doesn't do anything spectacular. They lose by 1 to the Hawkeyes, a good Hawkeye team in Iowa. Now he has to go to Ohio State with the best defense probably in the country. They're averaging about 5 or 6 points against per game so far this season. So Ohio State's defense is going to be a tough one to solve, especially in the shoe. Luckily for them, it's a noon game. Ohio State, perhaps the fans aren't going to be as big a factor in this one, but Penn State's really going to need to show up on the defensive side. Where they can show up is they can stop the run. Ohio State hasn't been able to get it done on the ground this year. I do think Ryan Day, though, is going to come out and try to just rip up Jim Knowles. These guys, you've heard it in the interviews, it doesn't sit kindly with them how Jim Knowles left and took that job at Penn State as the defensive coordinator. Hasn't been working out great for Penn State so far, as you can see. I just think Ohio State's going to separate in this game. I could see it being close early on, maybe 6-3 Ohio State headed into the second quarter or later on in the second quarter. I think they score before half, make it 13-3, and then I think they blow it open in the second half. I see Ohio State winning this game something like 34-6, maybe even 41-6. Take the Buckeyes, minus 18.5, lock it and flush it. Unfortunately, I also like Penn State under 11.5. Lock it and flush it. Ohio State's only given up more than 10 points once this season. It was against Illinois. I don't see Penn State's offense being able to do this. The only way this goes over is if they get a defensive score or a special team score. It's going to be another tough one for Penn State, and they got Indiana next week too. All right, let's go to Army Air Force. I'm going to go under 49.5. Just flat out going to spit this out. I think the Service Academy unders are due for a big run here. They're 1-4 on the unders this season. I think this is where they go 2-4. 8-minute drives, give me them. Give me the under 49.5. Lock it and flush it. All right, we're going to go SMU plus 10.5 at Miami. They're underdogs. I think Miami has a great defensive line and offensive line. This is going to be a tough battle for SMU. Carson Beck has been playing efficiently. I really think Miami lives and dies by their lines of scrimmage, and I think they get it done each and every week. SMU, though, I think Kevin Jennings is a great quarterback. He's been slinging it this year. He's gone over 250 yards in 6 of 8 games. I think he'll be able to get it done a little bit on the ground and through the air. Hopefully, SMU can run the football. They're 3-1 in the SEC right now. I think these guys are going to show up and play their best game this week. Miami might be overlooking SMU. I think they win this game. I think it's more like a 7-point game. SMU plus 10.5 is the play. Lock it and flush it. All right, let's go to the 3:30 slate. We got Louisville sitting there at 6-1, sneaky good in the ACC. They could be 7-0 if not for a couple bad bounces. They're at Virginia Tech, who is plus 10.5. This is one I'm going to call out right away. Dixon and I disagree on this one. He thinks Virginia Tech is straight up trash. He thinks Louisville is one of the best teams in the country, at least a little bit better than their top 15 rank. Miller Moss is playing good ball. I got to give him that. He's efficient. He's getting it done. I think their detriment today is going to be Chris Bell, their best wide receiver. This guy is hurt. He's going to play. He's probable. But Miller Moss, can he be as efficient without his number one wide receiver? I don't know. I think Rob Dixon thinks so. But I like the Hokies. Plus 10.5. I think 10.5 is too big a number. I think Louisville gets it done. Braum gets it done when they're underdogs or when it's a little bit tighter and there's doubt in their game. I think Louisville wins this game. I think they win by 6 or 7 points. Take the Hokies, lock it, and flush it. Dixon takes the other side. You be the judge. All right, let's go to Notre Dame. Minus 28.5 at BC. The Battle of the Catholics. Notre Dame's going to win this game, and they're going to win this game big. They're going to cover that 28.5. You can lock it and flush it. I think this game's going to be split with Notre Dame fans and BC fans. It's not going to be a true home field advantage for BC. I think they're going to have to put up some style points in this game to continue to impress the committee, especially ahead of next week's college football playoff rankings, which will come out for the first time this season. CJ Carr, Jeremiah Love, look for them both to have big games. Lock it and flush it with ND. Move on. Stay in the state of Indiana, at least with the favorites here. Indiana, minus 21.5 at Maryland. Big-time favorites. You see Kirk Cignetti has been hyping up Maryland as a team throughout this week. He tends to do that. He tends to try to jack his team up so that they can perform. You hear Fernando Mendoza, Indiana's quarterback. This guy is a Heisman Trophy frontrunner. On Maryland's side, you got a great quarterback as well in Malik Washington. This guy's fun to watch. He's a good runner. He's a good passer. Maryland's going to be, their crowd's going to be up for this game, hosting a top 2 team in Indiana. This is not a look-ahead spot at all for Indiana. Maybe it would have been had Penn State not been horrible this year. Who knows? Maybe if Penn State pulls off an incredible upset at noon, this 3:30 game, Indiana might be distracted and it'll be a closer battle. I don't see that happening. 56-10. Indiana dominates. Minus 21. Lock it and flush it. We're going to go Texas Tech at Kansas State. Another one that Dixon and I disagree on. I like Kansas State plus 7.5. He likes Texas Tech minus 7.5. Baron Morton. This guy's going to be back for Texas Tech. He's their quarterback. He's a solid player. Texas Tech 7-1. They've won a couple tight ones lately. Kansas State, on the other hand, started out the year horribly, disgustingly bad. Avery Johnson, though, this guy's bounced back. They had a big win last week in the blowout at Kansas in the rivalry game. I think these guys are going to be riding high the rest of the year. They've got nothing to lose at all. Texas Tech has everything to lose. This is a close game, 3-point game either way. May even go to overtime. Take Kansas State plus 7.5. Lock it and flush it. And let's show Dixon who's right. All right, Georgia, the cocktail party, minus 7.5 at Florida. Dixon and I are both on the same side in this one. Take Georgia, minus 7.5. Georgia's been inconsistent on defense this year. Florida has fired their head coach. It's a little bit up in the air here. I think there's going to be some points on the board in this game. There always seems to be, whether there's good defenses or bad defenses, but really I think it comes down to Georgia just being able to execute on the offensive side of the football. I think Florida, they got a chance in this one. Steve Spurrier Jr., the quarterback's coach, there's a lot of hype around him. Florida's playing with nothing to lose without a true head coach in this game. I just think I'm going to trust Kirby Smart to get this done. I'm going to make Florida prove me wrong if I'm going to be wrong. Dixon, I think, feels the same. He's got a little different analysis on this one, but he loves Georgia as well. So lock it and flush it with confidence. -7.5. Move on with your day. Virginia at Cal. Again, we're on alternate sides of this one. I like Cal, +6.5. Virginia, I think they're pretenders this year. Traveling across the country. I don't know how Virginia is gonna suit with that. But Cal, they're putting up points. They put up some points last week in a loss. I just think they're going to be able to score on Virginia. Virginia's offense has had some trouble lately. I just also think they're like Texas. I think their record is much, much better than they actually are. Go Cal, +6.5. Joey Mack, back on track. We need you, man. Central at Western. We got Western Michigan. -4.5 is the pick. These guys, they're 3-1 in the MAC, as is Central. Central's had the much easier road so far this year. Joey Mack says Western is going to have a bounce-back game after that performance against his alma mater, and Dixon's alma mater for that matter, the Spreadhawks. Take Western Michigan -4. They're going to win this game by a touchdown plus. Lock it and flush it. All right, I'm going to sprinkle one in here that I didn't pick. This is a Dixon special lock of the week. We got Navy at North Texas, two teams vying for that spot in the college football playoff and hoping to look good in the rankings this upcoming week. Dixon loves North Texas in the spot, -6.5. You're going to lock that one and flush that one. We're going to count it in the record. Navy, says Dixon, has played nobody. He thinks if he and I duplicated ourselves a dozen times, we could put a team on the field that could beat Navy. I don't know if I agree with him, but I sure like his pick. North Texas, -6.5. Lock it up, flush it up. South Carolina at Ole Miss. Dixon and I on the same side of this one. We like Ole Miss, -12.5. Ole Miss got their offense rolling against a much better defense than South Carolina last week. Ole Miss, these guys could have scored a lot more points against Oklahoma than they did. That was a good victory for them. I think Ole Miss is legit this season. I think they're a force. They're going to make the college football playoff in my estimation. South Carolina is just not very good. Their offense is terrible. Just take Ole Miss, -12.5. Lock it and flush it. Another one where Dixon and I are on the same side. We got Georgia Tech, -5.5 at NC State. Haynes King and Georgia Tech, they just get the job done. Similar to Vandy. It would be great if these teams match up in the college football playoff. Maybe we'll see that. Maybe we won't. But this spread is so much more compacted than it should be. Georgia Tech's going to win this game by at least 2 touchdowns. Lock it up, flush it up. Oklahoma at Tennessee. Just talked a little bit about Oklahoma. John Mateer, I think it's not his hand that's bothering him. I think he's in his own head. I think this SEC gauntlet, quote unquote, is really getting to him. Tennessee is not going to be an easy place to play at night. They're going to have the blackout game. They're only a 2.5-point favorite at home with Joey Aguilar clicking. You got Chris Brazell, one of the best wide receivers in college football. Sure, Oklahoma has a great defense, but I think Tennessee's going to get it done, much like Ole Miss did last week against Oklahoma. Lock it up and flush it up with the Vols. USC at Nebraska. USC -4.5 in this game. That is the pick. Nebraska just locked in Matt Rule for that long contract. They try to protect him from being poached by Penn State. Matt Rule, similar to James Franklin, does not beat ranked teams. USC just so happens to be ranked this week. They're 4.5-point favorites, traveling, again, across to Nebraska. I think this team is better than Nebraska, just flat out. I think they could have performed better against Notre Dame had it not been raining. They're going to just be throwing the ball through the air. Mekhi Lemon's going to have a couple scores on Nebraska. I don't think Rayola is going to be able to match them. Lock it up and flush it up with USC. All right, those are our 15 picks this week. Actually, it was a 16th pick with that sprinkle with North Texas, with Dixon. Man, we're due for a big week. All right, happy college football. Happy Saturday, everybody. For Joey Mack, for Dixon, I'm Andrew Fabian. Let's get it going.